Hey, how you doing? My name's Ryan, and today I'm taking a deep dive into my LEGO Marvel collection and trying to pick my favorite minifigure version of each of the main heroes. Now, unlike my previous list videos, I'm not looking at the best in terms of print quality or design work. Rather, I'm looking for the one figure that best exemplifies the character being depicted. Think of it like, if you could only buy one version of each character, who would you pick? Now, I've been collecting LEGO figures from movies, comics, and video games for more than a decade. But given the size of my collections and the amount of time I can reasonably spend on collecting LEGO, I'm trying to focus my efforts on just MCU minifigures, so that'll be the criteria for this video. Let's do the easy ones first. These are all the main characters that just have one MCU minifigure made from them, like the Eternals, or Kate Bishop, Shang-Chi, Rescue, She-Hulk, even though there is a great comic version, and I was surprised to see that the value of She-Hulk actually dipped a little bit in 2023 when the CMF figure came out, but then rebounded by 2024. Or Quicksilver, and by the way, why is there only one Quicksilver minifigure? LEGO, we need a Quicksilver remake here. Or how about Yelena, only one version of her. Same with Yondu, M'Baku, and Moon Knight. But now it gets a bit more tricky, as the rest of the figures on my list have more than one version to choose from, so I have to actually pick. Let's start off with Captain Carter though. There are two versions of this figure, one from the Hydra Stomper set depicting her stealth suit, and one from the CMF Marvel Wave. And the clear choice here is the CMF figure. It's bright, bold, colorful, British all the way up and down, and a fantastic hairpiece that looks just like Captain Carter. So that's the one I'd pick as my definitive Captain Carter minifigure. But how about Loki? Now, Loki's gone through a whole gambit of a character arc, from being a villain, to being a sympathetic villain, to being a hero, to being the god of stories. So do I go with the 2012 Avengers version, where he's a bit more evil but wearing the iconic green robes and horned helmet? Or do I go with his blue look from Thor Ragnarok with the yellow cape? However, if I'm picking the Marvel heroes, I probably need to go with his TVA outfit from the CMF series, as that is the beginning of his hero journey, and no longer is he wearing this regal outfit with capes and cloaks and armor, and Loki working for the greater cause. That's very symbolic of his character arc as a hero, so that's my pick for the definitive Loki minifigure. Next up is Shuri, and there's quite a range of quality with Shuri minifigures. There's a 2018 Infinity War version, which I think is one of the worst Marvel figures ever made, in that it looks nothing like the character trying to be depicted. There's the Black Panther Wakanda Forever minifigure with Shuri in her Black Panther outfit, but I think the one released in between those two is my choice for Shuri, and that's the Endgame War Paint version. I love the way this figure blends both the cultural elements of Shuri from Wakanda, but also the tech part of Shuri with these two giant gauntlet shooters, and that kind of exemplifies Shuri with her ability to put one foot in the past with her culture and one foot in the future with her inventions. But keeping with the theme, how about Black Panther himself, T'Challa? Now, I made a whole ranking video about these figures, and you can watch that in the description box down below, but the Black Panther suits themselves are kind of a mixed bag. Honestly, I like the mech suit figure, but technically that's not an MCU character. And even so, the best part of that figure is the fact that it comes with an alternate head that is without the mask. The Civil War and Infinity War Black Panthers are fine. I do like the visible eyes on the Infinity War variant. The Black Panther suits from Black Panther with the blue glow look okay, but really, the Endgame purple suit is the way to go here. The extra bits of color are fantastic looking, and the purple elements are very accurate to the character. Again, it's that meshing of otherworldly and culture that I really like with the Black Panther figures and the Wakanda figures overall. And the purple variant suit gets the theme across just right. Cultural suit, otherworldly elements highlighting and giving him extra power. So that's my pick for Black Panther. Moving on to Captain Marvel. A few different iterations to choose from here. There's the Kree battle suit that came in the poly bag, as well as the Comic-Con Axis set, with a nice color scheme, but I think the phase and hair just don't really scream Captain Marvel to me. They look more like Black Widow in disguise. Same goes with the costume from her own film, Captain Marvel. Again, fine costume, but the head and hair just don't do it for me. Then we have her Endgame look with her short hair, and I do like the smile on this figure. It has some personality, some snark, some character really. But if I'm gonna pick one Captain Marvel, I'm gonna pick the one from the Marvels. I think the hair and face look fantastic, the costume is accurate to the character. This figure gives off the character with some snark, some secrets, and some power behind her punch, and that is essentially Captain Marvel to me. Moving on to Valkyrie, and there's two halves of this character, the dark past and the confident future. It's kind of like most Marvel heroes actually, but this one is very distinct. The Valkyrie we see in Thor Ragnarok and Endgame is kind of stuck in that dark past. She's unable to process and go through her trauma, and unable to really grasp the crown of Asgard and take lead. This is showcased in her rebellious face paint and scavenger outfit in both her Thor Ragnarok figure and her Endgame fight figure. But for me, the Valkyrie I like the most and the one that I'd pick as my definitive Valkyrie is from Thor Love and Thunder. She is confident, charismatic, but still kind of keeps some of the costume elements of her scavenger look. It's sort of a refined and regal version of that first figure. Going from a blue side cape to a full-on blue regal cape is the perfect example of that arc, so that's my pick for Valkyrie. Now we move on to Spider-Man, and there are so many suits to choose from. We have the Civil War edition, his first appearance with the incorrect logo. We have his Homecoming suit, which is the exact same as Civil War, but with the correct logo. We have his Iron Spider suit from Infinity War. There's the Night Monkey suit and the red and black suit from Far From Home, both of which are nice deviations from the usual costume, but the former doesn't really look like Spider-Man to begin with. I made a whole ranking video of all my Spider-Man minifigures, and you can watch that in the description box down below. There's also all the suit variations from No Way Home, like the Inside Out suit, the integrated suit. But if I'm gonna pick one Spider-Man outfit, the one that really captures the best elements of Spider-Man the character and Spider-Man as an MCU character, I'm gonna pick the remake of his Homecoming suit released with the Sanctum Sanctorum modular. This one gets all of the elements right. The costume feels like Spider-Man, it has the big, wide, expressive eyes, all the details in his costume, the web shooters, a great definitive Spider-Man costume. The next character I'm looking at is Wong, and Wong has a surprising number of minifigure looks, not just in outfits, but in entire appearances. There's the Wong released in the Sanctum Sanctorum modular, which kind of looks like a pared down version of the character. There's the Wong from Spider-Man No Way Home, which has this wonderful yellow jacket and puffy hair. There's the Wong that was released in the Garganto Showdown set with these long purple robes. But if I'm gonna pick one, I'm gonna pick the first ever version of Wong released in the Bricktober series for Infinity War. Kind of modeling more after his look in the Doctor Strange movie than Infinity War, this one has the perfect balance of feeling mystical and ancient, but the face and facial hair are also inquisitive and serious, has a bit of snark to it, can break out into a joke once in a blue moon, and that to me is Wong's character. He is no nonsense, but still has sort of a funny side underneath all of it if you get to know him. And keeping with the magical theme, how about Doctor Strange? And Doctor Strange has gone not so much from a character evolution, but just being two different characters. You have the serious-minded sorcerer, and the sort of fun mystical magician. The first two Stephen Strange figures are more stern, while the latter figures are more playful. The one released for the Doctor Strange movie has a dark, almost gloomy looking design with a very stern face, popped collar, comic accurate hair, and Eye of Agamotto in silver on it. The one for Infinity War is a bit more smoothed over and has a bit more of those poppy colors to him. It is nice when LEGO is able to match the color palette of the film being represented, Doctor Strange being more muted, directed by a horror director, Scott Derrickson, Infinity War being a bit more colorful and grand, directed by the Russos. Then we have his more recent figures like the No Way Home version, with a brighter color palette, snarky smile, more Marvel-like hair, but there is a nice addition here with the Cloak of Levitation being its own separate rubber mold, so it can kind of act as its own character. Now, if I'm going to pick one figure for Doctor Strange, I think I'll pick the Multiverse of Madness version because not only do I love the costume here, but the Eye of Agamotto is gold and complete, the cape is its own individual character, and you can take the snarky face, rotate it, and you have a serious-minded, no-nonsense Doctor Strange on your hands here. Multiverse of Madness does kind of toe that line between giving Doctor Strange back his edge while also keeping him somewhat playful, and if I'm being honest, I do like when Doctor Strange is a bit more serious than silly. How about Wasp? Now, there are 3 minifigures of Hope Van Dyne, and I wouldn't blame you if you only know about 2 of them. The first 2 came out in the Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantum Realm Explorers set, kind of. Here are the two of them side by side. They're darn near identical except for the color wings. That was switched mid-production. I think it was to cut costs, but none of that's really important as my pick for Wasp came out in the 2023 Avengers Tower set. Not only is the helmet mold and print fantastic, the torso design looks nice, but the wings are the real scene stealer here. They're much larger, translucent, you can literally flap her wings, and it gives a really great impression for Wasp as a character. Next up is Scott Lang, Ant-Man himself, and I'll just go ahead and take the Quantum Realm figure off the board, as it's not really an Ant-Man figure as much as it is Scott Lang in a Quantum Realm suit. Even though I do really like the Ant-Man mask here, it's not my pick for the definitive, the quintessential Ant-Man figure. Now we're down to two. 2015 and 2018, both with the Ant-Man movies. And while I do like the original 2015 Ant-Man costume, I'm gonna go with the 2018 figure because that one added a little bit of texturing detail to the red elements on the suit to really give it the impression that it's made out of leather. And as we see in the Ant-Man film, the costume is basically a leather motorcycle jacket that's been converted to an Ant-Man suit. So I think with the detail and accuracy to the character, I'm gonna pick the Ant-Man and the Wasp suit from 2018 as my quintessential Ant-Man Scott Lang figure. Next up is Wanda Maximoff, and most of her minifigures are civilian costuming with a red jacket and skirt. We have her original appearance in Age of Ultron, the Civil War variant, the Infinity Saga versions with different color hairs, and they all have similar looks with just a tweaked hairstyle and jacket. And if you asked me in 2018, any one of these figures could have been her definitive version, as that's kind of really the only Wanda we've seen. But then, 2021 and WandaVision came along and changed the game entirely. And the WandaVision CMF figure is the new gold standard. It feels like the apex of her character, and this is the definitive minifigure to pair with it. Now, the Multiverse of Madness figure did a little bit to make that figure a bit darker and edgier and more evil, but they pulled so much detail and so much life away from the design of the character that I can't pick it as my definitive Wanda. I have to go with the CMF WandaVision figure. It is just picturesque and iconic. But we can't have Wanda without Vision, and this one really comes down to if you like the look of the Vision figure from the 2023 Avengers Tower. I don't think anybody could have guessed how controversial this figure was going to be when it was released, and I love some elements of it. The quasi-translucent legs, the cape with some incredible detail, the balaclava actually covering his entire head, a lot of it works for me, but it just doesn't feel right. It feels almost like a knockoff figure or a low-cost custom with how dark the printing is and how sort of cramped and condensed the figure feels. Now, that leaves us with two other figures for Vision, the one from Civil War and the one released in Age of Ultron. And for accuracy purposes, I have to pick the one from Civil War as it gets the actual color of the Mind Stone correct in his forehead. The Age of Ultron one has it as blue. Civil War has it as yellow. And I do like the Civil War figure a lot. I especially appreciate the dark purple eyes as opposed to black. It gives off the impression that Vision is sort of that half robot, half human design. To quote the Vision himself, he's not Ultron, he's not Jarvis, he is. I think that comes across in this minifigure. Moving to the other side of the galaxy with the Guardians figures, and I'll start off with Mantis. There are three versions here: her team suit from Guardians Volume 3, her original green suit from Guardians 2, and her remake that came with the Benatar. And the only difference between those last two figures is the torso, and they're so close in design that without some sort of reference photo, you might not be able to tell which one was which. I'm gonna pick the Benatar version because I like the added detail and the gold accents in her outfit. It kind of gives her more of a lived-in, otherworldly feel, so that's my pick for Mantis. A tough one, it could really go either way, but I'm gonna pick the Benatar remake version from the Infinity Saga. Next up is Groot, who comes in two different colors. The original Infinity War figure is a reddish brown, and there are technically two versions of this figure, the first of which was released in Thor's Weapon Quest, and the other is a keychain with a much more angry face that I've converted into a minifigure. However, after 2018, all Groot minifigures took on a new appearance in dark tan, such as the figure from the Benatar, Volume 3's Buff Groot, and 2024's Baby Groot in his Ravager outfit. For my pick, I'm gonna go with the Benatar remake figure, as I love the dark tan coloration and all of the detail that's on Groot's torso and legs. And the face I think is a bit friendlier than buff Groot from Volume 3, and friendly is just Groot's natural trait, so that's my pick. Up next is Nebula, who has a couple of figure appearances, and none of which are really that great. You have her Guardians Volume 3 outfit, her holiday sweater look from the Advent calendar, Volume 2's Damage Nebula, and my pick, Volume 1's the original Nebula from 2014. All of the Nebulas have pretty good face prints, but often lack in the torso and leg design. Maybe it's just one of those costumes that's kind of hard to translate into Lego, but I think Volume 1 does the best at it. And while I like the team look of Guardians Volume 3, I can't pick that as my definitive Nebula. I want her to have her own personality and her own look. Drax is in a similar boat. You have his Volume 3 team figure, his holiday look from the Advent calendar, Volume 1 and Volume 2. The figure prints from Volume 1 and Volume 2 look incredible with all the detailed scarring on his torso and head. And I think that leads me to pick Volume 1 Drax as my go-to minifigure. I think he's imposing, but also somewhat approachable. And that's what makes Drax a really fascinating character. He's a really big buff facade, but he is a sweetheart underneath all of it. He just has a filter of deadpan delivery. But how about Rocket Raccoon? He has a lot of different costume options here. You have his Volume 3 team look, his Quantum Realm spacesuit, his red Ravager uniform all buttoned up, his dark bluish and gray Endgame look, his dark blue and brown outfit from Volume 2, and my pick for Rocket Raccoon, the 2014 orange jumpsuit with brown shoulder pads. I think this extra heft on his shoulder really helps make this Rocket feel a bit more menacing. He's supposed to be this character with a lot of walls put up in front of him because of his trauma. I also tend to prefer gray to brown for Rocket Raccoon. I think the gray just looks better and feels a bit more like a raccoon. Also, when I think of Rocket Raccoon in the Guardians movies, I think he looks best when he's a monochromatic character wearing a very colorful outfit. But how about Gamora, whose figure needs to get across that she's not just a Guardian, not just a killer, but also a reformed daughter of Thanos? That's a tough balance to get, and unfortunately, LEGO has not made her initial outfit from Guardians Volume 1, so there's a couple less options to choose from. You have her dark red suit from the first Guardians movie, her silver armor from Volume 2, you have her What If variation with the Thanos-like armor, and my pick for the best Gamora figure, the long brown trench coat from Infinity War. I think this outfit and look encapsulates the best elements of Gamora, fighting against Thanos and against her abductive family and for her adopted found family. And the last Guardian, Star-Lord. Star-Lord has some great outfits throughout his LEGO history. You have the team suit buttoned up from Volume 1, the silver armor from Volume 2, the Infinity War jacket with shirt underneath of it, the Infinity Saga remake with the swooping Superman hairpiece, and the Volume 3 dark blue suit. But Star-Lord is always an oddball, so I'd be hard-pressed to put him in a team outfit, because while he is on the Guardians, he always marches to the beat of his own Walkman. I'm picking Peter Quill's red trench coat from Volume 1. The belts are twisted, the shirt is wrinkled, the mask is iconic. This figure embodies the best of Star-Lord. And while I totally understand if you wanted all the Guardians to match and feel more like that really cohesive tight team from Volume 3, I think the characters work best when they shouldn't go together. That's the fun of the Guardians. They're these individual heroes and outlaws that shouldn't mesh well together, but kind of do in their own way. Let's move back to Earth for the next figure I want to choose the definitive version of, Falcon. Like Doctor Strange, each Falcon figure has a unique charm to it. The original had a fantastic printed wing piece, the Infinity War version has a sleek dark gray torso print, and of course the CMF Captain America iteration has one of the best designs on a Marvel minifigure. But the CMF figure is technically Captain America, not Falcon. So for the definitive version of Sam Wilson as the Falcon, I'm gonna pick 2023's Avengers Tower look. The shorter hairpiece works great here, the torso and leg design is tactical, detailed, balanced, and the brick-built wings with stickers on both sides are slim enough and bendable to best emulate Sam Wilson's wings. I know it's kind of odd to not pick one of my favorite Marvel figures of all time, but I'd be doing that figure a disservice if I just called it Falcon. That's Captain America, that's not the Falcon. So if I have to pick one Falcon minifigure, I'm gonna go with the Avengers Tower look. But how about Sam Wilson's partner in crime, almost literally, Bucky, the Winter Soldier? This was a tough one, as I love the Winter Soldier polybag figure, but I'm not sure if I can bring myself to have the definitive version of Bucky be brainwashed and evil. So that leaves us with a few post-2014 Bucky figures to choose from. There's the retail one that came out with Civil War. There's the Bricktober figure depicting Bucky's look in Infinity War as the White Wolf, but he gets dusted in that film, so kind of odd having his iconic look being the one he dies with. So out of all the Bucky figures, the CMF from Falcon and the Winter Soldier has the most confidence in himself. He's not fully happy, but he's learning to live with his trauma. There's just one problem. The CMF figure really isn't all that iconic. And looking at all these Bucky figures again, this is trickier than I thought it would be. Look, if I had to pick just one, I might need to go with the Winter Soldier polybag. Yes, it's evil, but it's also the best look, it has some exclusivity to it, and it's the most iconic look for Bucky, aka the Winter Soldier. So that's my definitive version of Bucky right there, the Winter Soldier polybag. Next up is War Machine. For this, I'm looking for a couple of elements that combine to make Rhodey's character. I'm looking for a military look, some Avengers experience, but also living through a debilitating injury because of the government he fought for. That's the best version of War Machine's character, so which minifigure gets it all right? Well, we can cross off any figures that came out canonically before Civil War. So that includes the Civil War version, which does look rather good and pretty bulky, the Iron Man 2 remake, which the helmet really isn't growing on me at all and looks worse and worse every day. And while I love the original War Machine figure, that all silver one, as well as the polybag of Iron Patriot, both those feel too government to really scream the best version of Rhodey. Now, the one that came out in the mech suit is interesting because it technically is an Infinity Saga figure, but I really don't know which version it's trying to be. So that leaves us with two figures, the Quantum Realm suit, which I'm not going to really count as a War Machine figure, and the Bricktober one that's supposed to be his Infinity War look, and that's my pick for Rhodey. I think this figure has it all. The bulk artillery of a government Iron Man suit, the sleekness and design of a Tony Stark suit. This figure speaks to a War Machine that fights for the greater good, with the Avengers, and not for the government. And that's what makes the best Rhodey figure in my opinion, so that's my pick for War Machine, the Bricktober version. But how about Maria Hill, one of the key agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? It's absurd we only have two figure versions of this character, civilian look and S.H.I.E.L.D. look. Pretty easy pick here, as the S.H.I.E.L.D. outfit is not only more iconic, but also more resembling of the Maria character. LEGO, we need a new Maria Hill figure. The last good one we got was released in 2015. It's time for a new one. Next up is director of S.H.I.E.L.D. himself, Nick Fury. Now, Fury has gotten jokier, more playful, and just doesn't have the same dark side he used to. Even Secret Invasion, the so-called serious show about Nick Fury, still kept him kind of jokey and really made him kind of a miserable character. Thankfully, there's no Secret Invasion Nick Fury, but there are a couple of good options. You have his trench coat look, which has kind of been the mainstay Fury figure for the past couple of years. You have his young Nick Fury look from Captain Marvel, and then you have my pick for the definitive Nick Fury figure, his leather trench coat from the original Helicarrier set. The face looks meaner with those very high-raised cheekbones, the eyebrows are cocked downwards. This is a no-nonsense Nick Fury. This is the figure that would stand up to the Security Council and say,
I recognize the council has made a decision, but given that it's a stupid-ass decision, I've elected to ignore it.
In my opinion, the newer Nick Fury figures are more focused on looking cool and sleek than rugged and mission-focused. The Helicarrier figure is the only one that I truly believe would hide an extra pistol on him just in case. So that makes him my pick for the definitive Nick Fury figure. But now we're down to our core 6, the main Avengers, and we'll start off by first picking the quintessential version of Hawkeye. His first iteration in 2012 has medium nougat hair, slicked back, which is an odd hairstyle and an odd color to begin with. His look in Age of Ultron, similar idea, the costume looks pretty close, but the hair and face just don't do it for me. Civil War purple suit, same idea, pretty solid costume, but the face and hair just don't feel right. Especially the fact that the face is the same as Captain America's from the exact same wave, so you put them side by side and it's pretty confusing. Quantum Realm suit, not gonna count that one, but the face is a touch closer. It really wasn't until his CMF figure that we truly got close to Hawkeye with that new hairpiece, but also the costume is so minimalistic, even though that's literally his costume from the comics. But that's the case with Hawkeye here, as I think my definitive version will be the 2023 Avengers Tower figure, which is a remake of his 2012 look. The S.H.I.E.L.D. logo looks great, the new hairpiece in dark tan is wonderful. The face is stern but not entirely serious, more so sarcastic. Add to that one glove for his bow and arrow, and that's Hawkeye. That's my pick. But how about Black Widow? There are a few iterations of Natasha in minifigure form that I can kind of write off immediately. The first of which being the Christmas sweater from the Advent calendar. Kind of obvious here, she's not that kind of jokey character. Next being the Infinity War look with the blonde hair. It's kind of a temporary undercover appearance for Black Widow and not her main look. Her original 2012 outfit is pretty solid, but looking back, I don't think the face really is all that accurate to her. The Quantum Realm jumpsuit, again, can't really use here. You also have her white jumpsuit from her own film, Black Widow, which I don't think the film was really successful enough to cement that version of Black Widow as the definitive Black Widow, but yeah, same goes for her modified black jumpsuit from the other Black Widow set. Her Age of Ultron look is fine, but is a bit too playful for me to be Black Widow. You have the Age of Ultron remake figure from the Captain America motorcycle set, or the Avengers figure from the 2023 Tower. Personal preference here, but I prefer Natasha when she relies more so on wit and spy knowledge than Tony's technology. So for that, I'm picking her 2023 Avengers Tower figure as the quintessential Black Widow. Next up is Hulk, and this might be one of the hardest ones to choose from because all of the big figs of Hulk are so vastly different. You have the original bright green with brown pants from 2012, the remake in dark green from the Avengers Tower set, the Gladiator Ragnarok Hulk with the added helmet and armor, Smart Hulk with the Quantum Realm suit and gauntlet, the Smiling Hulk from the other Avengers Endgame set, which I think is supposed to be Smart Hulk, but he's not wearing any shirt, nor does he have glasses, but the face kind of says he's more human than Hulk, so I'm not sure about that one. If it's supposed to be Smart Hulk, that might have been my pick, but because I'm not sure, that leaves me with my actual choice for Hulk being his Age of Ultron look. This is the one that feels most like a modernized movie version of Hulk's usual costume. Right color skin, very angry, and purple pants that feel like they're MCU purple pants. They're not just regular old jeans or shorts that grow and shrink. They're specifically made to grow and shrink with the added little detail marks on it. That's fantastic. But how about Thor? A character who's gone through a lot of different narrative arcs, from spoiled prince, to Avenger, to humble king, lone soldier, fat loser, worthy warrior, to dad. There's a lot to choose from, and LEGO has a lot of figures for each one of these character arcs. I think the 2012 Avengers look is too iconic to not pick, but it's not as simple as that, because there are actually 3 different figures for this one version of the character. You have the original from 2012, the remake from 2022, and the revised remake from 2023. Personally, I'm picking the 2022 Thor from the Quinjet and Thor's Hammer set. The playful face, immaculate costume, the hairstyle all match the character Thor and recreate his iconic first appearance on the team. That makes 2022's Thor figure the definitive version of the character for me. But now we have 2 characters left, and up next is Captain America. Now, I don't want to give too much away here as I am working on my Captain America ranking video, but generally, the Quantum Realm suit, disqualified. His look in Infinity War as Nomad, kind of rugged and a bit too far away from Captain America for it to be the definitive version of the character. His look in the original Avengers film, whether the 2012 version or the remake from 2022, I think the costumes are a bit too playful, pulled right out of the 1940s to really speak to modern day Captain America. All of the maskless versions, whether it be from Winter Soldier or Civil War, while they do look good, I do think the mask is pretty key for the character, so I don't think those are my definitive versions. Zombie Captain America? Obviously not my pick for Captain America. So I think I'm going to pick the 2021 Captain America Age of Ultron remake figure for my quintessential minifigure of the character. Not only does the costume feel modernized and militaristic, but still keeping the stars and stripes, the helmet looks fantastic, the face looks great with the strap. This figure screams Captain America, leader of the Avengers in a modern day costume. And that's the best version of Captain America for me. The Endgame outfit does look quite nice, but I think the Age of Ultron one is a touch better. And last but not least, Iron Man. what's my definitive version of Tony Stark? Now, I've already made a ranking video for all of the Tony Stark made Iron Man suits, so you know what my top figures are from a design standpoint, but I'd be kind of hard pressed to make like the Mark 1 or the Battle Damage Mark 6 my go-to Iron Man figures. Same goes with some of his more experimental suits like the Silver Centurion or his Quantum Realm suit. And I also don't think his best suits are his latest ones. I think he's too reliant on nanotech, and I like him better when he's a bit more spunky. So that kind of rules out the Mark 50, the Mark 50 remake, the Mark 85, and the Mark 85 remake. So we're down to really his earlier suits, the first 10 if you will. And I think my pick is 2023's Mark 7 suit. This has it all the intricacies of Tony Stark's suits, but also old enough that it feels bulky, heavy, it has some huff to it. This is a suit that feels real, tactile. So I think the Mark 7 remake suit is my pick for the definitive Tony Stark minifigure. And there you have it, a deep dive into my LEGO Marvel collection and my picks for the definitive version of some of the main characters. But these are just my picks. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Which ones do you agree with, and which ones do you disagree with? And as always, if you like this video, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching.